This conference will now be recorded.
Hi all, so welcome to performance testing with JMeter Core to Master level, and this will be day 6. So as a recap, yesterday we talked about application architecture, then layers, right? Difference between thick client and thin client, differences between them, right? Now, today we'll go and enter into JMeter right, from today. So first we'll talk about terminology, some terminology. So thread group, okay. In JMeter, there is a term called thread group. It's an element. So this thread groups, it's act as a one business or you can say one test scenario, right? And it holds the complete end-to-end transaction along with the request for that scenario. So what a thread group means? It means that one business scenario, and it will be holding all the end-to-end transaction along with that request for that scenario. Correct? We can also say that the thread group contains a user story or end-to-end business or user flow. And since each uh, business or user scenario contains many user action known as transaction, so the thread groups contain a set of end-to-end transaction of a particular scenario. Right? It's almost same thing. There can be multiple business scenario on an application, hence there can be multiple thread groups in a JMeter test plan. Okay, each containing different scenarios. A JMeter test plan with multiple thread group is known as test suite. So we'll see that also later on, right? So for now, focus on thread group. What is thread group? It's act as a business scenario, and it will be holding all end-to-end transaction along with the request for that scenario, right? Now, no sound. Join again.
It's clear, Bhavlav.
Okay, just this. My mouse is not working. Wait, my system has got hacked. Okay, now fine. Okay, so whoever say that not audible, please join back. Okay, so next is virtual user. Okay, the user or the virtual user is known as thread group in JMeter. Sorry, thread, right? Thread. So difference is there. Thread group, thread. Thread means one user. Thread group means one scenario, which will hold the end-to-end transaction, right, with the request. So that is there. One thread means one virtual user. The request, right? Request is known as sampler or sample, okay, in JMeter. And those embedded resources, the non-HTML resources, those are known as sub-samplers or subsample, fine. So that term is there in JMeter, okay? Thread group, threads, sampler, subsample, okay? So remember them what they are. Now in JMeter, there are 12 major components, okay? So let me first launch the JMeter. So in this option, you see some zoom. The zoom is there. You can zoom the text. So this is JMeter how it looks right initially. Here some these options will be there, right? So we'll see when we use them. We'll see them. Then below that, a toolbar will be there where shortcut menus will be there, right? So I'll be explaining them when I'll be using them. Do not worry. And then here, this is the test plan, right? You will see this test plan. And this thing on the right hand side that you see, that are known as attributes. Okay, this test plan element, right? Here some so right, so that this is called as attributes of that test plan element. And here some numbers, you see this timers kind of thing, that will come to that later on, right? So in JMeter there are 12 major elements. Okay, remember 12 major elements, fine, or component we can say. First element is test plan. Test plan is the parent of everything. Okay, now if you right click on this test plan, you will see add, and then you see few things here like thread, config element, listeners, timer, preprocessor, postprocessor, assertion, text fragment, non-test element, right? And each have some, like you see thread has some three element over here. Config element has this many config element. Listeners has some listeners, right? Timers has some timers here. Preprocessor has some preprocessors. Postprocessor has some postprocessor here. Assertion has this many assertion, right? Text fragment has only one element, and non-test element has few element over here, right? So these, so how many are there if you count? Okay, I'll come to that later on, or let us say, yeah. So one here, right? This itself one, and then right click and add. Then this is the second one. This config element third, listener fourth, timer fifth, preprocessor sixth, postprocessor seventh, assertion 8, text fragment 9, and non-test element 10, right? So total 10 are there, right? 10. But I'm saying two more, right? 12 are there, so two more. So that two more you will get when right click on test plan, go to add, and go to threads and click on this thread group. Okay, anyone you can click, but click on this thread group. And when you click on this thread group, that thread group will be added. You see, it's got added. Now, when you right click on this, you see add, and you see this sampler. That is the 11th one. Some samplers are there, and this logic controller, right? Some logic controllers are there. Total 17 will be there, right? So sampler 11th and logic controller 12, right? And again, these are repeated. Like you see, pre, post, assertion, timer. These are again repeated. You will find them everywhere. Here also, those where they are preprocessor assertion. But these two, sampler and logic controller, will be only present at thread group. When we right click on thread group, you'll get them. So that is total till 12. Okay. Now what each does, we'll have a overview. So test plan is the its main element. Okay, test plan is the main element. It holds everything. Everything comes under test. Then we have non-test element. They are used for recording and are only present at test plan level. So if you right click on test plan, you see here non-test element, and some sub elements are there. So these are used for recording, and they are only present at test plan level. Earlier they were called as workbench, right? Then we have threads and thread group, right? They act as a scenario and contains its transaction and number of users. So you see, as I said, right click on test plan, I see thread, and here so many thread groups, three thread group. So they act as a scenario and contains its transaction and number of users. Then sampler, right? So if you right click on this thread group, you will see the sampler, and then logic controller. So samplers are the request, and they are present only at thread group level, right? When you right click on thread group, you will get them. Logic controller, they controls the execution flow of the transaction inside thread group. Okay, so they controls the execution flow of the transactions inside a thread group or a scenario, right? Thread group means a scenario only, and are present only at thread group level. Okay, they are present only at thread group level. Only when you right click here, you'll see this logic controller as well, where we have to right click on thread group, right? So that's why it's called as they are present on only at thread group level. Okay. Then config elements, right? So they are configuration elements. So if you if you right click anywhere, you'll see this config element here, and this many config elements are there basically. So they are configuration element and are used for apply available settings in the test plan, right? Then we have timers, right? Timers. So again, if you right click anywhere, you'll see timers here, and this so many timers are there. So timers are used for applying think time or wait time and pacing in JMeter, right? Then we have assertions. So if you right click anywhere, you'll see assertion over here, right? There's so many assertions are there, but this one is important, the response assertions. So assertions are used for verification and validation of the response data, right? The response that comes from server side to verify that we use assertions, correct? It serves the reliability objective of performance testing, right? So performance testing has four objective. One is the reliability, right? In very day one we discussed about the four objectives. So how the reliability is tested, using assertions, right? Then we have listeners. So if you right click anywhere, you'll see listeners, right? These many listeners and these many listeners. So listeners listens the result and different test statistics or matrices and display them to us, right? So it's like a result, right? Some result will be there. So how we will see that result? So this listener shows us the result, correct? So that's why it's listener, like they will listen the result and then they will display that to us. Then we have few pre-processors and post-processors. So if you again right click somewhere, you'll see we have pre-processor, then we have some post-processor. Okay, here pre and post. So any pre-processor element will execute before the request, right? So suppose the a request is going, right, and you want to do something, you want to do something before that request, then you can use the preprocessor. They can be used to do some action before the request. The post processor, they are executed after the request, right? Means suppose a request went and response came, after that you want to do something, so that time you can use post processor. They are used to do some action after the request. Then text fragment, it's a single individual element, right? You see here text fragment, it's a single element. So it's an individual element, it doesn't have that much specific use. Okay, one more thing, each sub element in JMeter has its own unique importance and use. Means whatever we have seen, these 12 plus, they have some sub elements also, right? On an average, if you take like each have 5 to 6 sub element, so we have total 10 10 element, like because this test plan is single, test fragment is single, so ignore that. So total 10 are there. 10 into 5 or 10 into 6 if you do, so there will be 50 plus or 60 plus elements in JMeter. Okay, sub elements means these are called as collective names, right? But again they have some subs, like if you see go to add and thread, so you see 3 thread here. If you go to config, you see so many config here, right? So categorize in category way, right? We say that the main major name is this plus whatever we see, plus they have some sub elements, right? Sub elements. So each sub element in JMeter has its own unique importance and use, right? No two element of JMeter is same in no two element is same in JMeter. That is the beauty. Now we will get started with few elements. So first will be test plan. Test plan will hold everything, right? It's a parent, you can say. It holds everything. Okay, so it will always be there. Then what we have to do, we have to add a thread group. Thread group acts as a business scenario and it holds complete end-to-end transaction, right, for that scenario. So that's why we have to add a thread group. So right click on test plan, go to add and go to threads and thread group here, right? Thread. Then inside this thread group, we have to add a recording controller or a simple controller. Anyone we can use. First, I'll use recording controller. Later on, we will see simple controller. So these are actually logic controller. They are sub element of the logic controller, right? Logic controller Okay, we just discussed about logic controller, right? And they are used to keep all the recorded transaction and the request, right? So about this recording, you got the idea, right? We have few days back, we have understand that whenever we do some activity, some request will be generated, right? So we have to record that. So whenever we have to record that, they will be kept somewhere, right? So they will be kept like you can keep them in recording controller or in simple controller, right? Inside the thread group. So right click on this thread group, go to add, go to logic controller, you see, and you add recording controller first. Okay. For now, we will first use recording controller. Okay, recording controller added. Now add a view result tree inside this thread group. View result tree. View result tree is a very important sub element of listener. What is listener? We just got, right. Listeners are the element which will listen the result and it will display us. So they have again they have very so many sub elements. So one of the important sub element is view result tree. So we have to add that. So again, right click on thread group, go to add, go to listener, and you see here view result tree on top, it will be there. Add it. Okay. Then add HTTP test script recorder. It's the sub element of non-test element, right? Plus it's the only element which is used for recording, right? So to add that, you have to right click on test plan. Here test plan is there, right? Here test plan is there. Right click on test plan, go to add, go to non-test element, and you see here HTTP test script recorder. Click on that. Okay, that has been added. Now inside this HTTP test script recorder, add again we have to add one view result tree, right? So right click on this HTTP test script recorder, go to add, go to listener, and add this, and click on this view result tree, right? So this is how four element. Initially we will start with four element test plan inside the thread group, inside the recording controller and view result tree, and then uh, uh, we have to add HTTP test script recorder by clicking again on test plan, right? And inside that we have to add view result tree, right? Now here one concept is there in JMeter, children concept is there or child concept is there. So all the element inside a particular element are known as children of that element. Okay, means like father child, grandfather child kind of concept goes here. Okay, so now what is that, right? Just a second. So you see this test plan. So from the test plan, one direct line is coming, right? You see one direct line is coming, and this line is coming and branching over here in this thread group. Okay, and one more line, right? It's coming here and it's branching to HTTP test script recorder. Means this thread group and this HTTP test script recorder are direct children of this test plan. Okay, so let me just hide it. You see like this. If I have I have I have hidden other things. So you see test plan. From there a direct element is line is coming and it's branching here, and one line is coming and it's branching here. So these two elements are direct children of test plan. Now inside thread group we added two things, right? You remember, one recording controller, one view result tree. So you see from thread group one line is coming and it's branching to over here, and another line is coming which is branching over here, right? View result tree and record, means these two elements are direct children of thread group because they are added inside thread group, right? You see they are added inside thread. This is called collapsing and expanding, right? You see I'm clicking on the here one key kind of symbol is there, right? You see everywhere it is there. So if you click on that, the element got hidden, right? So that is called collapse. If you again click on that, the elements will be shown, right? So that is called expand. So you see this plus minus over here, uh, the meaning, right? Plus is for expand, the shortcut, right? Shortcut, expand, and this minus is for collapse. Okay, collapse. If you hover your mouse over here, you will get, it will display, right? Let us say, see, I'm hovering mouse here and say expand all, right? I'm hovering mouse over here, so it's saying collapse all. Okay. Yeah. So this is the direct lane inside thread group. Same way, uh, let me collapse that. Now let me open this HTTP test script recorder, and inside that we added one more view result tree, right? So it is inside this HTTP test script recorder. So means it is direct lane of HTTP test script recorder, right? You got the idea where we have to place what? Okay, that is what child chilean concept, and expanding element or collapsing of the element. Now we will talk about recording, because everything starts with recording. So recording in JMeter and proxy server setup, right? So in this we'll understand like how recording feature works in JMeter, or how JMeter recording feature works. What is proxy server setup? Why that is needed? How proxy server setup works for JMeter, right? So this all thing, right? This proxy server setup and all these things. This setup is needed to capture or record each request and response for each transaction of a particular business or test scenario, right? So like what we have seen, right? There is a web application. We will be doing some activity. So that activity is known as user action. Technically, that is called transaction. So whenever we do some transaction, a request is sent, and in return response is received, right? Along with after once the response is received in the code format, then embedded resources are downloaded, then whole page is processed, and we see the beautiful page, right? This is what we have learned. So the capturing of this request and response, right? Whenever you are doing an action, then a request is going and response is coming, we have to capture that, we have to record that. So to capture or to record that, how that will be done? So that will be done through this proxy server setup. Okay, plus the use of this HTTP test script recorder, correct? So first we'll so this is diagram, I'll come to that. First we'll see how to do that, how to set up the proxy server, and how to get the things recorded using by help of this HTTP test script recorder. This is the only element which helps in recording. Now, so what we have to do is, if you wish, you can save this, right? Save this. How to save? So here you see save is there. Save. Okay, save shortcut, right? So this ribbon icons that we see here, they are shortcut kind of menu. So you see here save is there. So you can click on that or save, or you can go to file and you see this save, right? Same thing. So that also you can do. So like how we save any file, right? That like that you can save. So I'm going to save on my desktop. So here through this option, I'm pointing on my desktop and I'll save, right? Just let us say simple like first recording, some name I'll give. So any file in this world has some name, right? So this is the name I'm giving, plus extension. Okay, remember. So extension will be JMX. Okay, the JMeter related file. This is the script. We are going to prepare a script, right? JMeter script. So script, right? Script. What is script? We know, right? It's like user story, right? So that the user will perform that action. So scripting, right? This is what we are going to scripting. So so the extension will be JMX, right? Every file has some extension, like Word file has extension called docs, right? PPT has extension called PPTX, right? Like that, every file has some extension. So same way we have JMX dot JMX, right? Java managed extension. Full form is Java managed extension. So I'll click on save. So that has been saved on my desktop. You can see the name is coming on the top as right. So that is for save, like that. These like here you see open, save test plan as right? Or here also the save or open. This shortcut is given for open and save. It's a normal thing, right? Every tool has these features. Now, what we have to do is uh, we have to open our browser. Open our browser, Google Chrome, right? First, I am showing through Google Chrome. This is Google Chrome. Now, in Google Chrome, here on right hand side corner, three dots will be there. Click on that and go to settings, and then here search proxy. Once you search proxy here, that will be highlighted. So click on that. Then once you click on that, you see in system, this is system related pop-up will open. Here you see proxy heading will be there. Just come down, scroll down, and you see manual proxy setup thing will be there. Here you have to make this on. What we have to do, make this on by clicking here. So it's on, right? And here you will get initially people will get this area as input. So what you have to type in this, you have to type local host, right? Local host, correct? So local, it's not, local host, right? And so here we have to type localhost, and in this port section, you see we have to give a number. What number? So here in this HTTP test script recorder, this number that you see, the same number we have to give there. So give where it is. So here it is. So give that number. 4 8s are there. So give that. Okay, and then you have to save, right? Save. So compulsorily click on this save button. So you can click 1 2 times like that, and then you can minimize this if you wish. Now come here in HTTP test script recorder. Okay, here we have to do few selections. Target controller is recording controller. You see, this is what recording controller I have added. Target means whenever we'll be recording something, so where those things will be kept, right? That is what target. So they will be going inside recording controller. And in this grouping that you see here, we have to choose the fifth option from the drop down. So as a best practice, so from this drop down, click on this put each transaction controller, the fifth option, and select that, right? And other thing not required for now, right? Here prefix must be there, just verify. That's it, and just click on save, and then click on start. Okay, start. So when you click on start, so it will take some time, and then this pop-up will come. This pop-up will vanish in 5 seconds. If you okay, or you can click on that OK button. Here one OK button was there, right? You can click on that OK button, otherwise it will vanish in 5 seconds, and then this pop-up will come, right? Here we give the transaction name in this. These all things not required. Okay, here we give the transaction name. Whatever action we do, so that transaction name we have to give, right? Okay, so let us say first transaction we do is we launch the website, right? We launch the website. Any transaction start with launching any website that you want to browse, right? So give first transaction name like T01. Let us say homepage launch, right? And then you open an incognito window. So I have here Google Chrome. I'll go to these three dots and I'll click on this new incognito window. So incognito window has been opened. We should use incognito window for recording as a best practice, right? Why? Because that cookie and cache thing, right? You remember that every time a new user session will start. So it's always good practice that when we are recording, so we should start a fresh session, right? With that application, correct? On which we have to do the performance testing. right? So that's why for recording purpose, I'm using incognito mode, so that a fresh session I'll be doing, fresh activity I'll be doing, and everything will be recorded as fresh, right? Now you put the URL over here, okay, and hit the enter button, URL of any application. So first I will do what? I'll use one URL called adapting. You can search this URL, or you can write it down, whoever is watching that video, adaptinghotel.app.com, right? So why I am using it initially, you will come to know later on. So this is home page launch. Let us say the website got launched, right? And if you come in JMeter, if you see here in this view result tree, which is inside this HTTP test script recorder, right? You can see some traffic's coming, right? Traffic's coming, okay? And in this recording controller, which is over here, if you expand that, you can see the transaction getting captured, right? You see home page launch, and again if you expand it, you'll see some transaction getting captured. So a request related to that, right? That is the transaction, and this is request related to that, plus embedded resources will be there, right? So they are also getting captured. You see, for that request, JS file, CSS, PNG, all these things, right? That is getting captured. So we'll talk about that later on. Let us uh, do some more activity. So let us say on this website, next I'm going to click on this new user register here, right? I do not have credential for that, so I'll not log in. I'll click here. So let us say it will be another transaction, right? So we'll change the name over here, right? We'll change the name. So let us say it will be like T02 new user register, or like clicking uh, like that also we can give, or better like we should give this new user register page load, okay, like that. So we will click on this, so a new page will come, right? So new user register page load, right? So let me click on that. So in another, this is the page, right? New registration. So again, if you see in JMeter, that transaction got captured over here, right? New user register page load, and inside that you can see the request, right? The request, and the embedded resources coming, and here also you can see the traffic's coming. So I'll come to this later on, right? Let us do few more activity. Like let us say uh, here I'll fill in some details. I'll put this captcha and then I'll click on register, okay? So this we are going to do next transaction, right? So here we'll change the transaction name, like let us say uh, T03 fill details underscore and underscore uh, register and register, right? Fill details and register, okay, register. So some dummy data I'll put here, like username Jojo in 09 2021. Password something I'll put like CD12345XYZ. Confirm password BCD12345XYZ. Email ID, let us say something I'll put. So these are what this is called user inputs, okay? Because this data I am sending, user is sending from his side, right? So let me press F12 here as well to show you something, okay? And in network tab, yeah. So these are user inputs. So this will be called as part of what? Request body. Remember what is the part of request body? The URL plus sometime the user input or the file upload what we are doing, that is what the part of request body, right? Oh, this email should be here. Full name, let us say Jojo Bean. Then I'll type this captcha. GBARE. I'll click on this. Then and I'll click on agree. Okay, fine. So you can see, so I did one more transaction, and here those requests, right? You see, this request, two requests here, main request. Other are embedded resources. You can see JPEG file, JS files, right? And I just said this first request. If you click, if you go to headers, if you see here, in first or in second here, yeah, here you see the user input that we send, right? You see it's part of form data, right? So this will be part of response request body, right? Request body, okay, the form data, and this will be a post request. See, post request. Few days back I told, right, that what a post request will be. It carries, whenever a request is carrying something with himself, right, that will be mostly post request. Okay, and when you are just reading something, means you just click on that and that request is not carrying something with himself, so generally that will be of get request. Okay, and these were the user input, right? You can see over here, right? Now yeah, so I'll just stop it here. I'll click on a stop. Okay, and let this be, this is application flow, ignore that, you do not have to worry about that. And once you stop, the setting, right, downside you will be having setting, you open that and disable this server. Okay, disable it back. Remember, if you do not disable it back, internet will not work. Means let us say if I go here and uh, I'll browse or I'll open something, same Google only I'll open. You see it will throw error like that, right? You are getting the idea. Many people are still confused at this point. Okay, so the proxy only when we should enable, when we have to record. You enable the proxy, you record the scenario, correct? Like how we have done, we enable the proxy, we came here, we press the start button, we recorded the scenario, and all things got recorded. Once everything got recorded, uh, right, all, or let us say all thing, then we have to disable this. We have to disable this proxy. If you do not disable, what will happen? If you want to browse the website or something, you'll face this error, right? So you can disable that simply, right? Like that.
So
Remember,
sometime even after setting this local host, we are unable to record the application. So such case, what kind of changes we need to do, sir?
not able to record, right? We'll see. There are multiple use cases for that.
Okay, fine.
Here, this I'm talking about disabling. Once we enable, we record it, and then we must disable that proxy. Otherwise, internet will not work, right? Now I disable that, and you see again my Google open, right? So do not put more stress on that. Only thing you remember is you have to disable. Once recording is done, you have to disable, and before recording you have to enable, right? You got the idea why we have to do that? So come here, see, we set up a proxy server here, and we put the JMeter with that, right? So there was a port called 888, right? And we can change this port, not any, it's not like that we can use, we have to always use same port, not in like that, but let us assume, let us understand 888, right? We set up in system, we set up that in JMeter. In JMeter also this port was there, they are coupled, you can say, right? And we started the start button in JMeter, and we started doing some activity on the browser. So earlier what was happening, when you do any activity on the browser, it was directly going to the server, means the application, right? And response will come to the browser. But now we have set up this proxy. Proxy means a kind of shadow, or you can say thief, right? Thief, right? Shadow or thief, right? So that we have set up. Now what will happen when you set up this? So whatever activity you will be doing, so whatever request you will be sending to browser, from browser, instead of going directly to the server, it will first go to the JMeter, right? It will get recorded or captured, right? It will get recorded or captured, and from then it will go to the application. That's why we see the things over here, right? You see these things over here, you see these things over here, right? Now when that request goes to the server or application, server will obviously it will send the response. Now that response, earlier it was directly coming to browser, but now we have set up a proxy, a thief, right? Thief, a sniffing tool. It sniffs the traffic. Okay, so now it will come to the JMeter, the response, right? Remember, response will come to the JMeter, and then JMeter will be recording that response, and then it will be forwarded to the browser. Okay, again, if you are doing another transaction, let us say we did another transaction, right? T02. So again, a request will be going, that will be captured, then it will be provided to application. Then from the application, response will be coming to JMeter, it will be captured, and then it will be forwarded to the browser. Like this it happens. And this is why we need this proxy server, because you have to record, right? We have to record the request and response for each transaction of any business scenario, right? Okay, so that is about proxy server. Now let us come to JMeter. We'll understand few things first. So here two things will be there. One will be this view result tree. Okay, after recording you can save. It's the best practice to save. So click on save button, save the things, right? Save. Now here this view result tree there, which is inside this HTTP test script recorder, it will show some this traffic. This is traffic. Okay, traffic means the request and response. Okay, this is also called as traffic, right? The same thing is captured there, nothing is special. Okay, so that is traffic. So this traffic you will see request, and if you click on any request, let us say I see this request register.php. Okay, uh, this request, right? Just try to find it over here. Here it is, register.php. You click on that, so you see you'll be seeing the same pattern. You see, same URL, post request plus form data. With that request, obviously form data was there. This is called form data. It's user inputs, so that we see. Then some cookie value will be there. Cookies will be there with every request. Cookies will be there. You can see here cookies here, cookies, right? And some other this header, right? Header will be there. So you can see here, if you click on request, this is part of request body, and if you click on request header, those headers will be there, right? And then response, right? Obviously whenever we send that request, response will be there, and response always comes in code format, right? So you see for that request, this is the response, always in code format. And with that response, what additional component will come? Response header will be there. See, response header. So you can see your response header, you can match the almost same. You see this response header and see this, right? So this happens with every request. Not this is the last one which we see over here. That's why I'm saying that. Even the first one, you see validate captcha.php, it's a GET request. Okay, you see this request somewhere, it will be there, this one, uh, request body here. Whenever here that request, you have to click and you will see this thing, request. It will be showing request body, request header, the request body, it's a GET request, right? And the cookies, you can see that cookies, since it is a GET request, it will not be having any form data. It will not be having. Okay. And then this is the request header for that request. Then we receive some response, right? Whatever response come, if you click response is it's not saying, but some response will be there. Okay, so here it got as 1, and some response headers will be there. So it happens for every request, not like the first request that we fired, right? You remember the first request of adducting. What was that first request? The homepage launch request, adductinghotel.com, right? So you see, it is here. Okay, this is, and it's request headers, and this is the response in code format and response header, right? So the stuff, right? So whatever the transaction we are doing, that related request and will be captured over here. And whenever we click that on each, we can see the request body, response, request body. Okay, the request body, the request headers, and what was the response was received in code format, and the response header, right? And then one more tab will be there, the sampler result. It gives some stats, okay, like when it was fired, like response time, these things. So we do not have to focus on this one here, right? For now, so for now you ignore this. Now here one more copy will be captured over here, right? You see, uh, if I collapse this, so you see this transaction, right? We did 3 transactions, and if you expand them, inside that the related request and the embedded resources. Okay, same way here, this transaction and its related request and embedded resources. Same way here, this field and registered, right? These 2 requests, transaction name is same. This has been got captured two times, so I'll come to that, do not worry. So that is 2 requests related to that. Okay, so like you will ask, like what is why 2 copies, right? Here also I see 1 copy, here also I see 1 copy. Why? See, this copy, the things, right? The transaction name, the request and its embedded resources, transaction name, its request and its embedded resources, transaction name, its request, that you see here, it is saved. And this is the important one. And this will only when this will only we have to run. Okay, means run the test, right? You may be heard of running. So users will be created, virtual users, and they will be doing the same activity. They will be doing the sending the request for launch, for next transaction, that is new register page load, then fill details and register, like that. Okay, they will be sending it. Fine. So that's why this is important one. This is kept. Okay, and this thing that you see, this is called as recording log. Okay, recording log, or we can also we call this as a original recording also. Sometime I'll be calling this as a original recording, right? So you have to just understand, right? And this saves everything, like what was the request, what was the request header, what was the response, and what was the response header. But here only the request and request header is saved. So if you see, this is the first request, right? Homepage launch request. This is how it looks. Inside that, if you expand this request, you'll see header will be there, request header. So whatever the request header will be there, that will be kept. So the above is the request. This is request body, and here headers, right? Inside that header. And this is transaction control, name of the transaction, right? And if you see this stuff, okay, so if I open that, you remember in Amazon, I have shown you for that whenever we do any action, new URL is generated. So if you try to match this over here, so see, this is called protocol, right? So here the protocol is there, means how the things are segregated. This is called the server name or domain name, so that is over here, right? And right? Server name or IP name or domain, right? Then get request or post request, what will be there. Then after that, a path will be there, right? The path. So this will be shown you over here. So let us say for next transaction here, uh, I'm clicking on new register, right? So you see, this is the URL, right? See, so base URL remains same, and this is the path register.php, right over here. You see, so that we see over here, right? The paths will be reflected here. Sometime some application will be having ports. Okay, on left hand side you see ports. Ports means a number will be there in the URL. You will see like a number 8080 something or 9090. Some ports will be there. So that port will be captured over here. If that application has any port, that will be captured over here, right? This is how this thing looks, right? Whenever you do any action, right? This is how it is segregated in JMeter, right? You see, and inside each request, its header will be there. That will be held by a header manager element, and the headers will be there. And yeah, the input side, as I said, here we send the inputs. Let us say register.php. So you see the parameters. They come under the parameter field. These are the user inputs, right? We have seen, we have sent, right? You remember we were filling that form. So the user inputs got captured. This is how it got captured. It's in parameter field. And yeah, this will be the part of request body only, correct? Request body. Okay, so this is how the things looks, right? So that is what the the understanding of F12 is, right? The understanding of F12 is what is replicated here as well. Now, one more thing, these embedded resources that you see, okay, the JS file, the CSPNG file, all this, we should not record them. Remember, we should not record them. If they are recorded, also we should remove them, okay, or delete them. So there are two ways. There are filters in JMeter using which you can filter them out, right? You can filter them out. Right, so I'll in next session I'll show you how to filter them. Or else, let us say sometime even if you are using that filters, if see this embedded resources getting captured, we have to delete them. Okay, so how to delete? You can just first, before deleting, you identify that whether it is embedded resources or not, right? So you have to identify them perfectly. They will be of JS file, CSS file, PNGs, okay, like that. So the extension I have kept, right? These files will have the extension HTTP protocol, you remember here, JPEG, GIF, PNG, SVG, XD, WF, ICOs, icons, CSS file, GS. Any request with these extensions are embedded resources, correct? So we do not have to record them. Or basically, or if they are recorded, we have to delete them. Fine, okay. So this all this GS file, CSS, everything I am deleting for now. So how to delete? You can select them and right click, and you see remove is there. You can click on that, or here a seizure is there, right? Seizure. You can click on that seizure as well. They will be removed. Same way, this is the main request register.php. Apart from that, these are the embedded resources, right? You see JS file, PC. This is not embedded resources, okay. But this PNG file, and then this index.html is also a main request
So
one.
from recording itself, is there any way to set a condition that I don't want this kind of information? Is it possible? For instead of, because if I record a huge number of requests each and every time I need to search. So if I define before the recording itself, if I define this are the CSS, PNG is not required to capture. So those kind of option is available in JMeter. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I told the filters are there, so I'll be teaching that in next session.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so for now I am removing them, right? So you see JS file, then PNG, not all. See, this is a main request, right? We do not have to delete them. Then this is a HTML request. This is also a main request. We should not delete them. So only embedded resources, like you see this. Let me first remove. Then right, so you see once they are removed, it's look beautiful, right? It looks little bit beautiful. Many a times, okay, many a times some irrelevant request will also be captured. Okay, like you see here, roaming office apps live, or Google Analytics, or Google Analytics something, or this mxpl.com. It didn't came here luckily, right? Luckily, but maybe tomorrow or now also, after, if time permits, I'll show you. You will see this irrelevant. These are called irrelevant URLs. Okay, so I'll talk about them as well in next session, right? So they will also be captured. So we have to delete them as well. Okay, right? Luckily they are not captured. So uh, right. So I do not have to worry about that, but they can come. Okay, they can come. Why we should not record these files? No, no. Yeah, the question why we should not record this file as they are part of application resource. No, you will understand this later on. Okay, first you should not record. Focus on that. Right. Okay, so we do not have to record embedded resources. If they are recorded, we have to delete. Later you will understand it clearly that why we do not record. Fine, SB. The next question, please tell what are the resources are embedded. Yeah, so I told, right? Any resources with the extension I have shown you will be embedded resources. Okay, so that you will get an idea by browsing. Browse the website more, understand F12. It's not one day activity. You cannot understand in one day. So more pages you browse, you open F12, you see what are the main requests, what are the embedded resources, right? Plus I have given some hint, right? The JS file, the PNG file, the JPEG file. Just now I opened on the PPT, right? I am shown that extension with that. Generally will be embedded resources. Okay, embedded resources, how we will differentiate is, they will be either they will be CSS file or JavaScript file, or they will be image. Okay, some logo, some thing. So that's what, if you explore more, you will get idea on that. Okay, then coming here. Okay, so this home page launch, this is new register page load. Then here you see, sometime what happen whenever you record, two transaction with same name can be created. Okay, you see this T03 is one transaction, and again the same T03, but it two times it got created, and it's holding two different requests, right? So what I told, that sometime one transaction can have one request, and sometime it can have multiple requests, right? So here when we did that, two requests got fired. You see two requests, and that's why the both request is showing over here. Validate the first capture and this register.php. But here what has happened, two transaction has been created, so we have to fix that. So this one you can cut it, control X. Okay, control X, and put it inside this one, and this one you can delete. This additional transaction controller that has been created, you can delete, because this is called fixing. Okay, fixing, because transaction was only one, right? Only one. It has two requests, so that is what we are grouping, right? This is the transaction, and it has its two requests inside that, right? So sometime what happens, JMeter can create multiple transaction with same name, so we have to fix like that. Okay, that is what fixing. Here you see new register page load transaction, and it's three request, correct? Then here home page launch transaction, and it's only one request. It has only one request. Okay, So now they are looking beautiful. If you see 3 transaction we did, each transaction have its requests, correct, inside them, and this is how the things looks, right? And each one have headers inside them. To get the header, you have to expand, right? So this will be there. Now come to this view result tree again. Here, whenever you record, you will see some numbers will be added with each request. You see 1, 10, 12, 14, 22. So these numbers helps in recognizing that request over here in this original recording log, right? This is called recording log. So this recording log, it will be very populated, right? You see, still you see it's very big, huge, right? I just recorded 3 transactions. There can be multiple more transactions, right? A scenario can have 30 or 40 transactions. It can be small also, it can be big also. I'm saying like that. Sometimes the scenarios will have a small transaction, sometimes it will be big. It will be big. Okay, so you can assume that how much populated this area will be, right? So in this area, if I want to find this request, let us say, so how I'll find that? So this number help. So this, let us say this number 1, it's over here. This number 10, it's over here, right? This number 12, it's over here. Okay. This original recording or recording logs, this is not saved. Remember, it's not saved. This will be saved, right? This part will be saved because that is used to simulate. Okay, the users will be simulating this request. Users will be doing what, right? This is what performance testing. What a user is doing, he's clicking something, request is going, and server is responding with the response, right? And we are measuring how much time it is taking, response time. Okay. Now let us say I have to test that with 1000 users. I cannot do that in real time. I cannot bring 1000 people and I'll ask them, hey, start doing a browsing and sending the request. No, right? That's why tool came in picture, right? So the tool, this tool will do what? They will generate 1000 users. That is called virtual users because they are generated by tool. We use virtual users, and they will be sending this request to the server. So that's why request part is kept. It will be saved. They will be sending that request and the request header, correct? With some request, if body is there, right, here some parameters is there. So that parameter also they will be sending. So one user will be sending, or 1000 users will be sending this thing, and it will be sending to the server, and then server will be responding, right? So that's why response is not saved, because response will be coming from the server side. And that is what we will be measuring, right? Let us say for one user, when he's doing this, how much is response time. For 1000 users, when all they are doing this, sending the request, server is responding, how much is response time, what is the behavior of server, can it handle 1000 user load for doing that, these activities, right? That is what performance testing, right? So that's why this is kept, and here only request is kept. Nothing related to response is kept, because this will be sent by the users and response will be received, right? So I'll show you how that is done. Before that, come here. So this is called recording log, right? Recording log or original recording. Here everything will be there. If you click on any request, you can see the request part, request body, request header, and what response came, uh, response body and response header, right? At the time of recording, because this is what uh, when you were sending the request, it was coming to JMeter, it was captured, then it was going to browser, and then browser was sending response, right? So response was coming to JMeter, it was captured, and then it was coming to browser. So that for every request, that is what the response is captured over here, right? Why this is there, right? You will ask, what is the use of this? So it has very important use. uh, After recording, there is next step, if you remember, enhancement phase. Okay, enhancement, many people call it as a debugging phase also. It's the biggest phase. There we have to do correlation, parameterization, assertion, think time, pacing, many things we have to do. Okay, so right? So that is the next step after recording. So that enhancement phase, right? To do that enhancement phase, this original recording, or we can say recording log, is very important, right? And as I said, this part is saved. When you save it, this part will be saved. But when you close the JMeter, or accidentally the JMeter is closed, this part is not saved. Okay, it will go. If you close JMeter or accidentally somehow JMeter is closed, it will be gone. It will be gone. You cannot get it back. So there are two ways to get that back. One way is, before recording we have to save this. Okay, we have to save this. Well, that is one way. And second way is that, let us say you forgot to save that, then you have to record it again. Okay, you have to record it again. So recording it again is time consuming, right? Who will record it again? So better to save it. Save it. So how to save? So we have to give a file name over here. So that saving I will be showing in next session. Okay, in the it's divided into um, yeah, uh, yeah, in next session I'll be showing that. All is divided into few steps. We'll be looking slowly, right? So that saving I'll show you, like filter, as I said, right? Filtering, saving, I'll be showing in next. Now here views will be there. Okay, let us say you click on this request. This is the main request. You go to the response, you see the response body. The response will always be in code format, but for your betterment you can change this. Okay, you can change the view. That's why this name is view result. So by default it will be text format, right? You see here text or code format, right? Here in this drop down, uh, if you scroll down, you'll see this browser. If you click on that, JMeter will try to make that code little bit how it was looking in our browser. You see that home page of Adapting. This is how it was looking, right? So it tries to make that way. Okay, means just for better understanding for new beginners. Okay, new beginners, you can change the mode to browser mode, right? Or same way, any page, let us say next what we did, we clicked on new user, so this came, right? So that request, what is that request? If you try to see this, right, number 10, so that number 10 is over here. If you click over here, so see, this is how that page is looking, right? That page is looking. Then we filled something and we sent to the server. So this was the response. So that was over here. Here we filled something and we sent that. So 23, right? So if you come here, 23. So in request, you see the request and request header. Here response, you'll see, right? It's almost looking like how it is shown over here, right? So that is what. But generally, this is actually in which format? This is actually in text format. Okay, code format. This format, and we have to work in this format only. The enhancement and other thing, we have to work in this format. Okay, but for new people or beginner people, the JMeter people have given a view to you can change the view by clicking and choosing browser, just to get an idea. Okay, like this. Or you can do some other. So here browser, you can some few other options are also there. Browser you can choose, or this HTML you can choose, right? HTML also, or this HTML I think, no, HTML source format. Let me try. No, not this one. This HTML download resources. Yeah, this also you can choose, right? So you can choose three things. HTML you can choose, right? HTML you can choose, or HTML download resources you can choose, or browser you can choose. Better is browser. Okay, and it will just to get an idea that whether I am reaching that page or not. But by default it will be always a text mode, and we have to work in text format. Remember, just to have an idea, you can change the view. And one more thing, this browser option that you see, it doesn't come with Java versions higher than 8. Okay, higher than 8 means those people who have Java except 8, they will not get this browser option. I don't know, it's drawback or what, right? So do not panic. Either you use Java 8, or if you do not want to use Java 8, then you can go with other option as I told, right? You can go with HTML or the HTML download resources, correct? But this browser will not be there. Fine. For those who do not have Java 8, right? That's why I told Java 8 is preferable if you are working with JMeter. That is one way, one benefit with Java 8, and one more benefit is there that I'll tell you later on, right? So this is how you can change the view, right? So you got this all thing, you got the idea about this, right? Now coming here, this view result tree, right, which we added over here, another. So this view result tree will be used to show the result whenever we run this test. So here a play button is there, green, right, green button. So you can click on this play, and you see on top right corner a timer will start. You see, this is the timer, means from a start of that, from the beginning, right? uh, uh, like when you click play button, from that what till what time the test is going, that timer shows. Apart from that, so that is for timer over here on right hand side corner. Apart from that, there is a warning kind of symbol, right? And you see 0 is there. This shows any warning happening, so that we'll see later on. And then after that you see 0 by 1, right? So this shows that how many number of users are running. Currently I ran this for only one user, means one user just did this. And then beside that you see one symbol is there which looks like circle, and then this kind of thing is there. So that symbol becomes green whenever you run a test. Okay, so this is what is done, like on high level. High level means it's not completed, right? Do not think that we have to record and just replay. No, many things are involved. I'm just trying to make you guys understand, right, that this is what this request is kept here, so that we can run this test for either one user or 10 user or 100 user or 1000 user or 5000 user. They will be doing this, they will be sending this request to the server and receiving the response. And the response time, right? Response time here, this is called response time. Let us say response time for homepage launch, right? Then the response time for this request, this load time that you see, right? And so if you want to go in details, so you click on this launch, you go to this request, the request body, the request header. This is sent by that user, right? And it try to receive the response. Okay, response and response header that the server will send. Correct. Now this thing we were doing in browser, but now this tool is doing, right? A user is doing. A user one is doing, a virtual user, and he is sending that request, obviously, with request body, request header, and it's getting the response from the server, a response header, and it's measuring the time, right? Measuring the time. Okay, here many things are involved. Okay, uh, still like it doesn't mean that just we have to record and replay. No, many things are involved. Another thing, this transaction controller. Okay, what is the importance of this transaction controller is uh, it categorizes the uh, respective request, right? Let us say this homepage launch, it has only one request kept inside that. This is new user register page load transaction, it has 3 requests kept inside that. This is fill details and register, it has 2 requests kept inside that, right? That is one use of transaction controller, to group, right? To group the respective request of a particular transaction inside this. And second important work of the transaction controller is to give the calculated response time. Okay, calculated response time, meaning let us say I did homepage launch, means the user is doing homepage launch. So how much time it is taking? So that request went, it took 452 millisecond. Okay, these value are in millisecond, remember, millisecond. This value you see, that is in millisecond, or this all value we see, this value millisecond. This is in bytes. Okay, bytes means MB, KB, right? The bytes. So generally, this is the main thing where we focus, the load time, right? Means response time, right? So it took 0.4 millisecond. So this transaction took how much? 0.452 seconds, right? Seconds. This is in millisecond, 452 milliseconds. Now let us say after that the user did new user, means he clicked on new user register, or you can say new user register page load. He did that transaction. Now it has 3 requests, right? And we see that the request number 10 take this much, request number 12 took this much, and this one took this much. But this we are getting individual, right? This is taking something, this is taking something, this is taking something. But these 3 requests are part of one transaction. That is what new register page load. So how much total it took, how much total this transaction took, how we will get? We have to add, right? We have to add the response time for each 3 requests, right? So this adding, right? Adding is done by this this transaction control, you see. So if you add this, right? Add this and add this, how much is total? You will see over here, right? Plus one more thing, do not get confused that you see home page launch over here, that is the request, plus this home page launch over here, you see, that is the transaction controller getting, right? Same with these 3 requests getting fired, you see number 10, number 12, and this number 14, right? 10, 12, 14. So you see them getting fired over here. After that, this is what? This is the transaction, right? That transaction. Same with then 22 and 23 is fired, and then that transaction is fired over here. So this is how the view looks. If you want to have little bit better view over here, if you are a beginner and want to have better view, so you do one thing. Here you put check mark for each transaction controller. You put check mark like this. Here you put check mark, and here you put check, and then try to run. So it will look little bit, see, it's looking little bit beautiful, right? Home page launch, new register page load, fill details. And if you want to, so this transaction took this much time. If you expand, you will get its request, right? Its request, request body, request header, response, what received, response, headers. Same way, this another transaction, it took total 824 total, right? But it has 3 requests. If you want to know about them, you can expand, right? Like this, each one taking this much time, right? And total this much. Same way, this field details, it has 2 requests got fired, right? 2 requests got fired, and total how much total is shown over here, right? So that is how, if you put a check mark over here, and when you run, a little bit beautiful view you will get. Otherwise it will be little bit clumsy. If I uncheck this, and if I just run the same thing, right, you will see it will be little bit clumsy, means populated. See, it's looking little bit populated, right? But the idea you got, right? Okay, it's same, just if I uncheck that, so I'm seeing the request transaction, all 3 request transaction, then all those 3 requests and that transaction, right? But if I'm just clicking over here, not same, everything is same, no difference. Only thing, the view is becoming little bit beautiful. Okay. One more thing, I forgot to tell that. Let us say you want to clear this data, right? So to clear here, brush is there. 2 brushes are there. Okay, brush. This is called brush. 2 brushes. Do not always click on second brush, the bigger brush you see. Do not always click on that. Okay, I'll tell you why not to click, but prefer to click on the smaller one, the first one. So if you click that, existing log will be gone. It will be cleared, and again you can replay. Again you can play the button and you can replay, right? So this is the view of the request and other thing. Now one more thing. Let us say here I am running for one user. Am I getting same response. So if you see page launch, so to verify that whether I'm getting same response or not, we use assertions, right? You remember we just talked, right? Assertion to validate the response. So that comes under the enhancement phase. Okay, that explained, right? Enhancement phase. So that I'll be covering later on. We'll see that. First, we are focusing on recording part. Enhancement is big phase. 6-7 days it will to take to learn that. Okay, so but if you want, you can just for just namesake, you can just see that. Yeah, see here, homepage launch, and if you just want like just for your understanding, you can change. So this is how the homepage launch, right? This is enter clicking on register now, so we receive this. This is the captcha on that page, and this is some other images for that page, right? Then we are clicking on capture. Okay, and here see this response is not expected, right? Means when that user, a real user, when he's doing register .php, this 23, so what response he's getting? This is the response he's getting. But when I'm replaying, do I'm getting the same response for that 23? No, right? Means something is wrong. So that's why this is given, right? That is the importance of recording log, to match, okay, that whether that when I'm replaying, whether the same response is coming or not. So why it's not coming, or what wrong thing I'm doing, right? So that all we have to do enhancement, right? Enhancement. What is enhancement? I'll tell overview. I'll tell. Do not worry. But yeah. So for a reference purpose, okay, this acts as a reference purpose. So very important thing. This recording log is very important. It's not like simply replaying, right? See, I'm replaying, but am I receiving correct response? No, right? So replaying is just not like you record a replay. No, we have to focus that whether same response is coming or not. When this request will go in over here also in application as well, I see this, or when I recorded also I see this, but when I'm replaying, this is not coming, right? So right, so this thing we have to fix here. Why it is not coming, I'll just explain. Because if you read this, what it is saying username not available. Okay, means what? This user was already registered by us, right? When we were recording, that user was registered. So again, if you try again, I'm trying to register that user, so that's why that it is not registering. You see, username is not available. Okay, these all details, this when I'm running this test, so all these details are going. Okay, you see here in request tab, request, right? All the same username, password, these are the user input. Same user input is going, right? That we entered at the time of recording, that got captured, and now when I'm rerunning this test, same is going. But the system will not take this. Why? Because this username is already registered. Okay, like it's a real-time scenario. Let us say if you go to Gmail, right, and you try to make an account, you create an account. Okay, you are giving some username. Once with that username you are registered, again you are doing registration with same username, can you do? No, right? So that is the flow. Okay, that is the business flow we have to understand. See, before testing we have to understand the flow also. So this understanding flow I'll focus on later on. But this is why see, same data I'm sending, this data is already registered, that's why same kind of response I'm not getting. Okay, and this is what the enhancement is. Enhancement phase we have to fix this. We have to fix the data, the user inputs. Then there are some values are there. Those values are known as dynamic value. Then we have to put assertion to verify the response, right? So that is what that phase is. It's a different enhancement phase. Okay, so we'll talk about later on, right? So do not worry about that. So that is what the overview. Okay, the recording, how this recording happen, and what we get the idea over here, the views, the transaction controller, right? And then why embedded resources we should not keep. Okay, and then saving this I mean the importance of this log, right? We have to save, so saving we'll see in next session. Then I was talking about this brush, right? So let me finish this. So a small brush does what? It clears the small brush, it clears the log for the element which you have selected. Let us say I have this view result tree, right? And I have some logs over here. I mean, log means something, right? Some stuff. So if I click on this brush, so this got cleared, right? But this didn't got clear. Means this a smaller brush clears the area, means it clears the area for only that element which you have selected. Okay, but it doesn't clear the other area. Like here also view result tree is there, and this thing is not cleared, right? But I'll do what? Let me just run one more time. Now I have selected this view result tree. I have not selected this view result tree, correct? And I'll click on bigger brush. So bigger brush does what? It clears everywhere. See, here also it gone, and here also it gone. So that's why avoid using bigger brush, or avoid using clicking on bigger brush. Okay, try to use the smaller brush, right? And see this, once it is gone, I cannot take back that recording log, right? The importance we have just seen, right? So that's why we have to save, because accidentally you can delete it, or if JMeter you are closing or accidentally it closes, you can delete it. It will never come back. So only there are two ways to bring it. Either you have to record it again, or you have to save it before recording, right? So that we'll see okay, next session. So that is for today's, right, recording. Tomorrow means not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we'll talk about filtering, then proxy server setup in different browser, then yeah, then saving that recording log as I said, right? Till today we discussed up to this point.
Sir, do we have any website for practice purpose?
Yeah, we have JPET store.